Georgia, thanks for dropping by. Sunday chat today is going to be a bit different. Every year when I do my first field trip I overdo it and I don't learn. The idea would be to do a nice easy first one, relatively flat. No, we go clambering up flipping slopes like that, slipping down, bouncing and all the sort of stuff you shouldn't really be doing at my age. But like an idiot I have, and everything feels like it's broke. I'm not working, so basically nothing. I can't do bending, twisting, everything, getting in and out of chairs. It's not my back, don't worry about that. It's not my back's gone. That would be a worry. I just ache all over. It's as though somebody's bashed me around with a stick in all the right places. As if that would be allowed. Yeah, so I'm not working properly. Now the idea today was I was going to get up and I was going to do some watering and then do my filming, because I've got to get out of here before the sun hits it. We're going through a really hot spell, and that means I need the kit on. I can't have any length of time in here without the kit on because the temperature will just rocket. And I've got still air with the kit off as well. So get the filming done before the sun comes round. That was the idea. Well, we didn't get the watering done on the grounds it involves a fair old bit of bending. So we'll have a substitute, which is the sort of comes back to the title really. When you're not working properly and you've still got stuff to do, how are you going to deal with it? No, I've got an exception. I appreciate I can do something that a lot of you can't do. We'll get to that in a minute. Trip to Burnham's. I've put together a video. It's not a very good one, I must admit, but it's what you're getting. And basically it's because I didn't put an additional soundtrack on. I've just left the soundtrack on there, which involves lots of crunchy noises as I pace my way round the growing areas, because they've got gravel to walk on. So you've got lots of crunchy gravel going on and a bit of jibber jabber going on in the background in places. And I didn't put all the clips in there on the grounds that Arthur, bless him, has been working really hard, and in the growing areas a lot of the larger plants get taken to one side and split down into much smaller plants, potted up and then put back out for sale in those growing areas. And when that's been done, it all looks neat and tidy. It's neat little tidy rows, all the same, lots and lots and lots of the same plant, all nicely labelled up and everything. And a lot of that work has been going on and is now done. So when you go along with a camera, it's just a sea of green. It's just lots of little pots with some green bits sticking out the top. It's hardly anything in flower. So I haven't put a lot of the clips from that area in this time. Last time it looked a bit untidy, but there was some stuff in bloom that should have been taken out the back, and you know, the plants have been left out there long enough to have got to decent sort of blooming size plants, and they shouldn't be. They then get split, obviously. It's a nursery, it's there to make money. They do leave some larger plants for people to buy. But anyway, so that was going on. And I bought my bark. Now Arthur did warn me. He said when it arrived it was wet. But basically that they have no choice, that's all they've got. So I bought a bag of bark, and the outside of the polythene bag was covered in condensation. So I thought, yeah, I've got damp bark here, which is not good, but choices. I thought I can deal with it when I get home. So what I'm doing is, you know my green tray that I use when I'm repotting to put all the junk in? What I'm doing is I'm putting a layer of bark on that and sitting it on the arms of one of my chairs outside at an angle directly facing this boiling hot sun that we've got. And then every hour or so I go out and churn it round, and it's drying. I dried the tray full off completely yesterday. I've got another one on the go now for today, and I'll do the last one tomorrow. So that gets it dry. Now, it has got a slight mushroomy smell, which implies that there's some mould in there in places. Now, it is possible that drying it off in the sun like that might kill a lot of those spores off. It might not. I'm not really interested. I can still deal with it. If, when I start using it, I start seeing some mould in the pots, it'll just get a fungicide treatment. Yeah? Which won't harm the plant, but it'll clean the pot out. And if I do it as soon as I see it, then it won't degrade the bark. So we've got round that problem. It's a little annoying, but you know, choices are getting limited now with Brexit. As I said, getting the stuff in from other countries is not as easy as it used to be. It's classed as a wood product, you know, it's subject to certain regulations. So that's that. And so the video for tomorrow is my trip round Burnham's. That's already made, yeah, so I haven't got to do a video tomorrow. And today I was sort of thinking of doing quite a bit of watering before I started filming, and I changed my mind. I thought, if you ache and bending's an issue, and twisting and turning that is involved with watering, don't do it. Give yourself a total rest, have a day off. So that's sort of what we're doing, but we have a substitute for me doing all the work. It's called the sprayer. Now I don't use this very often because I have got electrics out here and I do have to use it carefully. But because I know what's coming, it's going to be boiling hot and all the fans are going to be on full blast. If I get plants wet today, it really doesn't matter. So apart from the small amount of bending to get the sprayer fired up, we're going to spray the mounts. And we're going to put some water in some of the pots that I know will be getting dry. How do I know without looking? Because they're the ones that have been repotted more recently than others, if you see what I mean. Because their media dries faster. So we will put some water over the top of those pots. If they're not totally dry, in this heat, it's not going to hurt them having some more water. But I need to get some water on these plants. And even though I still say that you can't properly water things with a sprayer, well, you might be able to if you didn't have a drip tray underneath, because you could put the sprayer on the pot and leave it running until you saw loads of water coming out the bottom. But I've got drip trays on my pot, so I don't see that happening. Yeah? Now I might end up with a little bit of a flood in some places, but I'll live with it. As I said, we're going to get some serious heat and some serious air circulation going on in here in a minute, so we'll live with it. But I always go along the lines that some water is better than no water. Oh. Well, as I say, once I've actually got this fired up, then everything can be done standing up. So, the place where I have to be careful is along the back here, because my hydrostat and thermostats and associated plugs are on that back wall. Yeah? Now the boxes are supposedly splash proof. I'm not quite sure what splash proof means. I doubt it means you can dunk them in a bucket and they will live. But anyway, this is a very simple process of just going along. This trigger on this thing is getting a bit dodgy, it sticks. So some things, this is the bit where I've got to be careful. As I said, some water is better than no water. And just quietly go along. And these will drip all over the place, they'll drip on my table, they'll just drip all over the place. And as I said, as soon as I walk out of here, we will be getting some serious circulation on the go. Now this is the bit that is sort of guesswork. I know my holy clay pots need watering, so they can have a reasonable amount of water, and I can poke the lance through. I've got 3 holy clay pots, Cattleya types up the back here. I'm going to have to move that one to be able to get to the last one. I was hoping to get those all down and have a look at those today, but perhaps we'll save that for next Sunday. And then again, anything that's been reasonably recently repotted, get some. So it's a relatively simple process, but I know that this is not getting the water right down into the pots. They're not getting a good soaking. And this is just clean water, so it's also a flush. Well, when I normally do a flush, they get a lot of water poured in, and this is not a lot of water. It's enough to keep them ticking over. And that's it. That's all it is. Enough to keep them ticking over. And I'm happy to do that. Now, not everything's going to get watered because some things have been in their pots a while now and are not dry. And some things are. Most of the things over here have been repotted recently, so they do need the water. This brassica needs plenty of water at this particular time because it's trying to open all of those buds at the same time. So that's a lot. Now, in amongst my Miltoniopsis down here, I've got two that dry out relatively quickly. So those two can have a little spray and the others can't because they're still wet. I know they are. Right. This has to be done in a certain order. If I don't do it sequentially, then some will get missed. All of Derek's plants don't need doing. They're not growing as such. There's some new growth starting on quite a few of them, but they're not pushing on hard yet. They haven't got any roots to back them up. That's why they're not pushing on hard yet. And Tolumnias all live along here. It's just a matter of wetting the moss. 4 of those have been recently remounted, and the other 4 haven't. But they can all have a bit. And this is the bit where I have to go careful or I end up getting dripped on. So now we come out of that area or we'll get dripped on. We'll leave those to drip. If I do this side as well. Hello, we're running out of oomph. That's better. And when you've got really hot weather and you've got a lot of mounted orchids, if you have the luxury of a floor that doesn't matter, you can do this every morning and it won't do them any harm at all. In fact, it will do them a world of good. You know, the alternative for me not doing this on my mounts today would have taken them through to the 3rd day tomorrow. Now in this weather that's no good. That's too dry for too long. I can go 2 days no matter what the weather. And quite honestly, if the weather's going to continue like this, I'll be doing a watering day followed by a spraying day, because doing continuous daily watering days is too much work. Right, the cooler, shadier ones, apart from Dracula Bella, which gets water thrown on it every opportunity I get, and that little Masdevallia that I mounted for a bit of fun. Well, it's growing. And then when we get over here, the number of pots is quite limited. There aren't that many. And that's because they've been rearranged. But quite a few of these have been recently repotted, and a lot of them are growing new roots. Well, where are the new roots? Top of the pot, which is the bit that gets sprayed, top of the pot. So the roots are getting some on those that have been recently done. Now I will do the Vanda roots. That's not a proper watering. I don't care what anybody says, you can't spray Vanda roots. You can put a hose on them and drown them, and that might be pretty good, but spraying Vanda roots doesn't really get enough water in there. You see the difference, you know, you give them a 15-minute soak in water, you know, in a bucket or tank or whatever you use, and compare the colour compared with a spray. It's not the same. Right, so that's that lot done. Oh, forgot my Renantheras. We did take a vote on how that's supposed to be pronounced. Renantheras, I believe. Does it matter that much, really? It's a pronunciation at the end of the day, as opposed to getting a name wrong. There is a difference. And different languages would have a different emphasis on different, you know, the way things are said. Right, now we've got mounts. And these have to be done carefully because some of them are around the wrong side of the mount. And I literally have to, I can't see what I'm doing, I just point. Now somebody said they thought they saw another spike on my Jenkins CI. Where did they say it was? Bottom left hand corner or something? Let's have a quick look. I don't believe it for a minute. No. No. There's lots of old spikes, no new ones. Probably just a trick of the light. Let's get that back up. Right, that's the awkward ones around the back. So as I say, you've got to watch, you know, if you're going to be in a place and you're going to soak your mounts and some of them are hanging in the roof, you need to go careful which order you do them in, because if you've got to stand and water a couple of shelves of pots and you've just watered the mounts directly above, you're going to get wet. And I don't do getting wet. It's not on my list of enjoyable actions. I hate getting wet. That's why I don't go out when it's raining. I never need anything done that urgently that makes me go out in the rain. I just wait till it's not raining. Right, that's that lot done. Now we've got the awkward ones. Oh, ow! That hurt my legs bending like that. So I'm trying to avoid using my back and I end up bending my legs instead, and it's my legs that hurt the most, quite honestly. They're the ones that have had the serious damage done. Right, and these ones right up the back. Get me that out of the way. Oh, not easy at all, because they're very squashed up together, and some of them may not get any. I'm hoping to be able to just poke through. Oh yeah. Well, that's the farthest one. That's right up in the far corner, and I can get to it. See, now if I wanted to get at that pot, just that pot, I'd have to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 plants and find somewhere to put them just to get at that one. So what I'm doing here is spraying the surface. And on those that have got nice new roots coming, that's exactly where those nice new roots are. So this does them the world of good. Where this principle goes wrong is perhaps in duller weather or when the temperatures are lower and you go round with the sprayer not knowing how much water you've actually put in the pot. So I haven't got a clue how wet these pots are. They're just getting their surface sprayed. They're not wet. If the pot was bone dry, it still is. It's only the surface that's wet and a little bit that might run down in between the things. So it's not a proper job. But if a pot was still quite wet and I did that, it's now wetter. When you go round and do it again when it hasn't used that water up, it's even wetter. And you're not looking to see what you're doing. So a sprayer can be risky and you can end up absolutely soaking a pot, even though you've only put a dribble on it. It's because you've put consecutive dribbles on it and they've built up, one after the other. So it's something to be careful with. And I still say there is no substitute to actually picking a pot up and having a proper look at it. Having a proper look. How wet is it? How heavy is it? Are there any bugs? Does it look okay? Is there any mould in the pot? Are these new growths okay? Are they still progressing? Are these new roots failing? Is there something wrong? All these things you do by picking it up. You don't do it by pointing that at the pot on the back of the shelf. It don't work like that. So you do have to be careful. See, now I'm in an area where there are plants that need repotting. Are they going to be bone dry? No. So they only get the briefest of spray because I can't look at them because I'm not getting them out, and we don't want them soaking wet. So just a surface spray. That will help with the immediate humidity around the plant as well, because obviously that's going to evaporate today. Hopefully some of the roots will get at some of it before that happens. comes to something when I'm quite happy to be bent over and not worry about my back, in preference, a great big leaf, where's that come off of then? Where did you come from? You can't see. You look like the same as that one. I think that's come off of the prima donna, although it looks like an oncidium leaf. Anyway, onwards. Nearly there now. We've got to go down through this middle bit. Oh, we're getting a bit wishy-washy again. You can tell why how the plants haven't had as much water as they would normally have done on the grounds of how much water you use. If you've only used a third of what you would normally use watering those plants, then they're not wet, are they? They can't be. You've just kept them ticking over until such time as you do it properly, which in my case is getting each pot down and getting it done. Right, that's everything there. Now do the stuff at the top. Not much up in that area nowadays. Can't do these in the middle because I need to be there. If I do those, I'm going to get severely dripped on. Where did we get to? We did the two top shelves, so next two down now. If you're systematic, and when you do this, see, I use the sprayer so infrequently, I haven't really got a system. I just try and sort of think, you know, a shelf at a time. Don't do a bit of a shelf, do all of it. And then you should be able to see which shelves you've done and which ones you haven't. Little mounted Phalaenopsis, you can have some. That's everything up there. And now we're down to here. A lot on here has been recently repotted, so again, new roots near the top, base of the plant, get all that wet. Some people would say, oh, you've got your new growths wet. Don't care. As I said, the amount of heat and the amount of air circulation that's going to be in here today, everything's going to be bone dry. This Make's going in the bin soon, I'm fed up with it. It's not doing anything, it's not even attempting to grow. There's no point in putting water on that. Right, where have we got to then? We've got to a cold coffee, no doubt. Give my air plants a bit. They usually get forgotten. And a lot of people would say, oh, you shouldn't put water on air plants like that. If it gets down in the, you know, in between the leaves, if that's what you call them, they'll rot. Not with the air circulation they're about to get. They'll be bone dry. It just keeps them ticking over. Right. I do believe that's it. So that didn't take long, did it? You know, it's virtually the whole... Oh, aha, missed some. So worried about doing those ones around the back of that shelf up there, we didn't do the ones on the front. We missed three. Would that have been the end of the world? Probably not. But it would have meant those mounts went 3 days with no water. As I said, in this weather that is pushing my luck. One of them's a Laelia with good, strong, healthy, fat pseudobulbs. So that would have been fine. Another one's a Cattleya. Same principle, but it is quite a new plant at the moment. And is that what I think it is? No. Ah, thought I saw a slug. We like those, don't we? Slugs. Some people seem to get... Actually, I'm just going to spritz the Derek's plants as well. By doing this to Derek's plants, I've just added a day onto when they will actually need watering properly. Because there are so few with roots, they don't need the water. They're not going to use it. So all I'm doing really is stopping the what's in the pot evaporating too much, just giving them an extra little lease of life prior to me having to water them properly. And Derek's plants don't get any feed, not until new growths start pushing on well, not just starting. I'm not going to use it. I'll keep piling food into pots. And wait, my new Masdevallia. Do you want some? You can have some. Right, that's it. I think. Oh no, this one to do. Forget that one. That's still opening blooms up there. We had a Zoom meeting yesterday. Our illustrious leader, Lynn, put a video up for us to watch about her Masdevallias and Draculas, which she does very well with, unless the slugs get them. She seems to get more problems with slugs than I do anyway. I get the old one or two, but I can't say I have enough slugs to, you know, like take every plant out and search it in great detail to try and find them. Right, that is a job done. So that's virtually everything, well, it is virtually everything in here watered, just enough to last it another day. So, like I said, if I was going out for the day, like when I went on my field trip, if that was a watering day, I could do this. Now, I don't know how long that's taken. The camera should tell me. Well, the camera says it's been running 26 minutes, and I wasn't spraying for the whole time, so I've just flicked that focus thing on. So, you know, the whole greenhouse has had some water in, what, 20 minutes. So that's heading up towards 200 plants, but they haven't been watered properly. Now, you could say the mounts have actually been watered not bad. I won't say properly, but not bad. They've had a reasonable amount of water. But, you know, because of coming at them at an angle and things like that, bits of them may have been missed, so they wouldn't be absolutely soaking wet. But, job done. That's already the... This was funny. Lynn showed her little gadget like that in her Dracula and Masdevallia house yesterday, and she's worried that it says 99 degrees, sorry, 99% humidity a lot of the time. Firstly, I don't think that these things are that accurate. I'll put Hurricane Hector's humidistat back on. It should be humid enough in here that it doesn't need to come on. Yeah, see, now that says 91%, whereas this says 99. It can't say 100 because it's only got 2 digits. So 99 is as high as it goes, and you can't go any higher than 100. So, yes, it does make me laugh when people put figures of more than 100%. Percent means out of 100. That's its true meaning. So how can you have more than 100 out of 100? You know, it's 110%. No, it's not. Don't be silly. As advertisers have started making silly statements like that. Yeah, so nearly 25 degrees out here. The thermostat that controls the heater, that says 26. This says 24. And the one over there says 24. So I would say it's probably somewhere 24, 25. Although this BioGreen thermometer thermostat is probably the most accurate gadget in here. So if that says 26, it probably is 26. And the others are reading a little low. But then, with the fans off, if I put that up there for a couple of minutes, the chances are the temperature would go up. Because any heat in here is collecting up in the roof. Because it's not getting moved, because the fans are off. Yeah. So don't underestimate air circulation. It's so important. Oh, we will have to fire up the sprayer again. I've just missed one plant that's very important, and it's actually got 2 next to it that didn't get any. We didn't do these, which is my Comet King. Well, again, that's got swollen canes. That would have lasted. The Tolumnia wouldn't have been happy. And Mr. Hairy wouldn't have been happy because he has only just been remounted, and as such his roots are now no longer buried in moss that's gone off on a rotten piece of wood. So that needs a good soak quite regular now, because the roots are exposed when they weren't before. I don't see any new roots on there yet, but I'm hoping they will come soon. I don't think I'm going to lose it, but it certainly has gone downhill a bit. Ugh. We're doing okay. Don't know how much of this you're going to be able to see, but if you look, where's my lens? I'll get some light. If you look there, you should see some new roots, or at least a new root, and down in there are roots starting on the end of my finger. So Mr. Hairy is coming into root, as I was expecting it to do, but it's slow. It produces roots very slowly, so it needs a very humid atmosphere around it, but not enough to rot those little new growths. Always been a debate on why the canes on this particular Dendrobium, senile, why they are so hairy. I mean, it comes, I know it sounds daft, but this is a black hair type, even though it's got white or pale grey hair all over the canes. But, you know, some seem to think it might be a protective measure for things like caterpillars and bugs and those type of things that wouldn't like to crawl on that because it's all hairy. Some think it might be to keep the moisture away from the delicate new growths, but the delicate new growths haven't got any hair on them. It's the canes that are hairy. So it's undetermined. We don't really know why these are covered in little hairs, but they are. And I must admit, it does hold the water off the canes, but I would imagine if that was in tropical rains, where it's going to rain for 3 or 4 hours heavy, the little hairs aren't going to stop the water getting all over it, are they? It's going to be soaking wet at the end of that. But it's growing. As I say, we've got a nice new growth coming up in there. One here, one here, one here, one here, and one here. Now, if all of those grow on and get to full size this year and all produce some roots, we've got a good plant again that should bloom next year. But at the moment, I'm determined. Right, next thing that I normally do on Sundays is, have we got any new blooms? Have we, hell? Not a light. No new ones. No new ones at all, actually. In fact, the next actual buds that will open, I suspect, are the hybrid Miltoniopsis down there. Those buds are starting to swell up and show their colour. Those will be open in a couple of days. The radiata is opening, is pushing up spikes. The one next to it is also pushing up spikes, so is the one next to that. You notice I instantly recall their names. You know, I'm not getting them down, and I can't remember them. They came from Jeff's, and some of those are not orchids I know that well. That's why I can't recall their names at the moment. There's some cattleyas. Those cattleyas right up in that back corner. We've got buds coming on those. I think all three of them. No, the Francis Fox hasn't got buds, but the other two up in that corner have. So we've got some things coming. But, I was amazed at Lynn's Draculas in her little video. I didn't quite know what was going on there, because the video we watched, unless it was my laptop, which is highly unlikely, or the laptop it was being shown on was Lynn's laptop. That still could have been the problem. But the video was lagging. You know, it was a bit... It was lagging. And, you know, when you're watching a sort of 35, 40-minute video, it continued all the way through. I did ask Lynn, I said, what did you do different for that video that you don't do, you know, for YouTube? Because her YouTube videos are fine. You know, they're lovely and smooth and clear and everything. So I don't quite know what was going on then. But you have to bear in mind that if I produce a video now and I want to see it, I'll play it on my laptop. Once I get it onto YouTube, YouTube are playing it on my laptop. There's a difference. Yeah? So it could have been just that. It's the fact that she was playing the video direct rather than having loaded it onto YouTube and then played it back on YouTube. Anyway, the number of spikes on her Draculas was absolutely incredible, and the physical number of... I didn't know there were that many Draculas for a start, but yeah, good stuff. Whether that video will ever end up on YouTube or not, I don't know. I don't see any reason why not, because although she did it for our Orchid Society Zoom meeting, I don't think it was specifically aimed at that, if you know what I mean. But that's up to them, obviously. So there we go. Video ready for tomorrow. And I now don't need to water. It's going to be another hot day tomorrow. I might do another field trip, but a flat one, just to keep everything moving. I know that might sound a daft idea, but if I do next to nothing today and be completely rested, then tomorrow, if I do it again tomorrow, I'll start to stiffen up through lack of movement. So I might go for another walk tomorrow, somewhere flat. And the next two places I was thinking of going to are far from flat. Mind you, one of them, compared with that slope I was on filming that bee orchid, the next hill environment I want to go to is Morgan's Hill, and it is a single hill. It's not lots of little bits, it's one big hill. And from the car park, it's a hell of a climb to get up there, but it's got a good path. So you're not going to slip over or slip or anything like that. It's got a sensible path to get up there. And then you are basically on the grassy slopes. It's got quite a large, long, flat top with, and it slopes away. And in some places it slopes away quite steeply, but I don't need to be there. That's not where the orchids are. So I could risk that one, I suppose. And then the other one is experimental that I want to go to. It's a place that I've been to for butterflies. It's chalk downland, and there are beech woods that you can't get to under normal circumstances, therefore unexplored. So that will be a totally unknown trip and could come away with nothing. Don't know. But one thing I will say is that the field trips seem to be enjoyed by some people. They're obviously not enjoyed by everybody. You've only got to look at the views. Most of my videos average around 1,000 views. That field trip, 600, possibly 700, it's down. So it's down on the views. And obviously that affects my overall view count. But that doesn't stop me doing them. If there's people that enjoy them, I'll do them. And I enjoy making them. So we've got that. And the other video that's half done, that will come out probably Tuesday, depending on circumstances. There's a surprise coming. The next project orchids, the Dendrobiums part, is half done. How can you half do a video? Well, I've put in place all of the parts to do with last time. So they're all there in their sections, and all I've got to do is film the bits to go in the gaps and then just close up all the gaps and join it together. So that'd be quite easy to finish off. We'll get that one done for Tuesday or Wednesday. And why I say there's a surprise coming, there's a particular individual who, off the top of my head, I can't remember his name, sorry, I think it was Tom, who sent me an email, and it was to do with this zygo, and the fact that I said there was another zygo that I liked that I'd like to get if I could. And he sent me an email and said, there's one left if you go here quickly. So I went there quickly and got it and added some more in. So we have a box coming. So we will have the genuine thing, an unboxing video sometime next week. It said it's due Wednesday, but it's more likely to arrive Tuesday. Could even be Monday, I suppose. It was ordered on Friday, so we shall see. But they won't post over the weekend in case it's stuck in a depot somewhere. So that will get posted out Monday, and then it depends entirely on whether it goes first class or second class. Can I get this out? No, I'll have to tell you. My Victoria Regina has 2 old canes, those of you who know the plant well, that have bloomed. I've had blooms on it since I got it, and a good sized cane with leaves on that was on it when I got it also. And then my own new cane is now 6 inches longer than all the other canes on the plant. So my new cane is growing really big. It actually looks fantastic. But on the leaved cane that came with the plants, we've got buds sticking out the end of the cane, right on the end of the cane. That's an unusual place for that type of, because that's what you'd call a cluster type bloomer. A bit like, I can get that down, as long as it doesn't drip on me. Bit like, this is what I call a cluster type Dendrobium. This is Kaneko, which is a Victoria Regina cross. But that's what I call a cluster bloomer. It puts out little clusters of blooms. There's no real stem. The blooms come straight out the cane, and they're in little clusters of anything from, well, from 1 to many. And that's how they bloom. And that's how the original Victoria Regina blooms. But I've never seen buds come out of the end of a cane before. They tend to come out somewhere along the cane, not right out the end, but that's where they are. So let's get this back without bashing my brassica here to pieces. Right, so there's another thing, there's a thought. The Brassica verrucosa sea breeze, the buds are opening nicely. The blooms are smaller than last year, but I'm hoping they will increase in size like Vanderblooms do. The blooms actually grow, so they don't open and that's it. They open and get bigger. But the end of the spikes, both spikes, blasted. The top 3 buds, top 3 buds on both canes. And I would say it's relatively obvious why. They are 2 foot from a circulating fan, which is a 16-inch fan, which when it's hot in here gets turned up to hurricane force. They're too close. They're just getting blasted, and it's taking all of the hydration out of the spike, so the buds are blasting. But I'll live with it because all the others are coming out okay. The whole place is more important than any one plant, so that's the way it goes. Anyway, so the idea was just to sort of say that if you are a little incapacitated for whatever reason, if you have a floor that doesn't matter, or can put something down on the floor so that the floor that does matter is covered up, then a sprayer can come into its own. Now, I'll say I would never have an automated watering system because I don't like the idea of not picking my plants up. This is a private collection. I'm not a commercial dealer. Time is not money, not for me, you know, if you see what I mean. So I'm quite happy to put the time in normally. But all I'm doing today, by doing what I've done, is avoiding work. Because what I've just done wasn't really work, was it? I mean, I know this, I'm not being mean or anything like that, but the work I've just done today, if you had a lance long enough, you could actually do that if you were incapacitated in a wheelchair. You could still get round with one of those, yeah, as long as this top bit worked okay. So, you know, that's avoided me doing lots of bending, twisting and turning. That's very repetitive motion that winds up all my aches and things like that. And yeah, so a couple of videos prepared for next week already, and my plan for next week is not defined, but I would like to do another field trip. There is one field trip I could do that is flat, mainly pretty flat. I could do Martin Down, but that's more of a butterflies place than an orchid place. The only orchids of real interest there for me are the burnt tip orchids, although some experts are now calling them burnt orchids. That's not the same thing. If you think of a descriptive thing, if you say something's a burnt tip orchid, you're implying that the tip is the burnt bit, and that's exactly what they look like. They're almost white, and the buds that haven't opened on the tip are the deepest of purple. So they look, and from a distance, they look like it's been burnt. So that's how they got their name. Now they're just calling them burnt orchids. Well, that implies the whole lot's looking the same. I don't know why they mess about, I really don't. But as far as the orchids are concerned, there are some others there, but I don't know where they are, and you're looking at a vast site. I'm not wandering aimlessly around there. But there's a car park at the same level as a nice walk where there are lots of different butterflies, and some are pretty rare. And there are some orchids, and the burnt tip orchids are all on that walk, and it's all pretty level. So it's the sort of walk you would thoroughly enjoy, and if the sun was out, by the time you got back to your car you would have been roasted. Because you don't realise it. It's so exposed and so open there. There's nearly always a breeze, so you feel okay. Sun's coming down on the old you know, and if you had like short sleeves on, or a vest with straps, you'd be frazzled by the time you got back to the car. It's just exposed. Anyway, that may or may not get done. And yeah, I'll see you next time. As I say, no real subject today. It's just me at me work trying to avoid doing any work. It's a strange concept. The work I did today was avoiding work. Well, I think it was successful on that front. Got some repotting to do, the two that I came back from Burnham's with, plus whatever's in the box when it arrives. But I'm adopting a policy that when I get a plant, I want it repotted soon, but not immediately. The immediately bit doesn't allow the plant time to acclimatise and just get used to its environment prior to getting some pretty serious stress called a repot. So I'm hanging on to them a week or two before they come out of their pots nowadays. And as the two from Burnham's will be quite close to the new ones that will arrive early next week, they'll probably all get done together. Some of them might not need doing, but I doubt it. See you next time. Thanks for dropping by.